So, what's next? With the very first sentence in the Season 5 Reloaded update for Warzone, Raven listed, so here it is, the final major update for this era of Call of Duty Warzone. Now, while Warzone 2 is on the horizon, what does that mean for our offering and experience now? No doubt there will be some people, if not a ton of people, that don't want to move on, and while it seems like you won't have to, what's upcoming if this is the final update for the current iteration of Warzone? Today we're going to dive into what we know so far and what appears to be the future for Warzone with Modern Warfare 2019. Specifically, this current version of Warzone as we know it, not Warzone 2. As we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you think is going to happen, and what do you hope to see happen with Warzone as we know it? If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. We've got a tremendously busy next few weeks to months coming up, so if you'd like to join us on that road to 500,000 subscribers while staying up to date with absolutely everything, I'd love to have you in the community. For now, let's talk about what's next for Warzone. Now, on an official standpoint, very little has been officially stated, but there is some acknowledgement from Activision, albeit not a whole ton, but they did mention this back in June. In June, we saw the reveal of Modern Warfare 2, we saw the confirmation of Warzone 2, we saw some stuff teasing when we see announcements and such, but nothing really concrete at that point. COD Next wasn't known about or anything that was announced there, but it was something that gave us, of course, our basic rundown of everything we'd expect to see with Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. But what we saw in that mention for the current iteration of Warzone is today's Warzone will continue as a separate experience that will include a continuation of player progression and inventories within that Warzone experience. We can't wait to share more details soon. A vague, non-answer answer that essentially just let us know that yes, you can still play the game, no, the servers aren't shutting down, and everything you'll have now, you'll still have after the launch of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 a little later on November 16th, and you'd be able to stay there if you'd wish to. From a top-level perspective, the first thing that I pick out that is of any relevance to the deviation between Warzone 1 and Warzone 2 is that it comes down to a different application. So you're not going to be seeing that application shared right now with Modern Warfare 2019's base application moving forward and being entirely overhauled or anything like that. Warzone 2, as we know, is an entirely different application and seemingly from Modern Warfare 2 even. We had to close that application at COD Next and then boot up the new Warzone 2 experience, which seems to indicate an entirely different, separate application, which is definitely nice for those that maybe don't want it, though I wouldn't be surprised if whenever it comes down to it, they're sharing sort of file directories, kind of like grouped in folders together, but not the same game exe like we see right now with Warzone and Modern Warfare 2019. No matter how much they want to brand it, Warzone as we have it right now is still a partitioned version, even at its base, of Modern Warfare 2019's base game. So Warzone 2 would be bundled but not linked or tethered explicitly like we see now. Beyond that though, Activision and Call of Duty have yet to give any more clarification on what's going to be happening to the current experience, but there is some insider insight into what's going to be coming next. From a top level, according to Tom Henderson, industry insider we've discussed here on the channel in the last few months, and whose track record does check out, he reported earlier in September, it looks like the original Warzone will continue to receive updates and DLC. Warzone will be renamed to Warzone Caldera on November 28th. Breaking that down a little further, again, we can deviate into two different paths here. Number one, it'll continue to receive updates and DLC. I'm really curious how this is going to be handled, if it's something that all hands are going to be on Warzone 2. That kind of indicates that we're not going to be seeing a ton of DLC and ton of updates in the future, right? In terms of like updates, I absolutely expect them to keep up with bug fixes and stuff like that, but in terms of adding new content, from a preliminary perspective, looking at it as a sort of secondary and not as supported game anymore, I'm kind of almost inclined to expect only things like leftover shop items, leftover weapons from Vanguard that may be coming in that post-year one support time frame like we've seen the last couple of years. Modern Warfare 2019 got maps and weapons dispersed into Black Ops Cold War's main year of support. Black Ops Cold War had the same thing happen where we had content released during Vanguard's year, so why wouldn't it continue on a little further? Albeit a little weird because Vanguard kind of got the least amount of support post-launch, but anyways, that's a different story for a different day. The second part being that it will be renamed to Warzone Caldera, indicating a few things. That number one, that rumor of Warzone Legacy may be dead in the water, which is kind of odd. I think Warzone Legacy rolled off the tongue much better in terms of naming. Beyond that, Caldera doesn't seem to be going anywhere despite the perhaps perceived nature of that Season 5 Reloaded intro cutscene, where Butcher is talking about finally leaving the island. That more so just being symbolic towards the jump for Warzone 2 and some new experience here at that. And then beyond that, the Caldera may be the focal point here for Warzone 1 going forward. And that points towards another rumor that has since been coming out, the potential removal of Resurgence maps. Another insider and leaker, the Ghost of Hope, a couple of days ago tweeted about big news for Resurgence mains. Rebirth Island and Fortune's Keep will apparently be removed from the current Warzone following the release of Warzone 2. Now, that doesn't give any specific date, but it very well could line up with what Tom reported of November 28th, just under 2 weeks after that launch of Warzone 2. Now, that's probably a bombshell for a lot of people. There are a lot of Fortune's Keep and Rebirth mains, but with those being removed, well, that means we either have Caldera or Al Mazrah within Warzone 2. So that seems to be the strategic play here at this. Whether or not people are going to be cool with that or not, that's an entirely different story, but it seems to be that sort of conscious effort to get people off of Warzone 1 and then onto Warzone 2. A lot of people don't really like Caldera, so in that case, if they don't have Rebirth or Fortune's Keep to play, well, they're kind of defaulted then to trying out the new map and the new Warzone experience. Again, I know that's probably going to upset a lot of people, but that is seemingly the conscious effort made here on the side of Activision. And to a degree, I do understand it. You want people to move on to your next product, and of all the things that would hold players back on Warzone 1, those two maps are probably what does it. Though, to be honest with you, I'm very surprised that Fortune's Keep in particular is being removed as well. Rebirth we've had since December of 2020, so that's something that has had its time in the limelight. That's a little bit more understandable if they take that one out, and it seems like that's why we might be seeing that Rebirth Island out of the rotation in most weeks as of late within those weekly rotations for Warzone currently. But Fortune's Keep, I mean, that came out just a couple of months ago. That was made with the intention of giving players a brand new map, but then a couple of months later, it's already gone. It just seems like kind of, I don't want to say wasted dev time, but doesn't that seem kind of counterproductive to pull it that quickly? I don't know, that's just me. But anyways, if there's no Resurgence map going to be in Warzone 1, is there going to be one in Warzone 2? Right now, it doesn't seem to appear that way. Obviously, Warzone is only launching with Al Mazrah. That's been already confirmed plenty of times from official channels. There's rumor that there's a second big map in development already, but that's probably something for like a year one update for Warzone 2 with whatever they decide to do in 2023 or maybe 2024, early 2024. But I'd be curious to see if we end up seeing any sort of development continue on and give us something extra, because during the COD Next broadcast, Stephanie Snowden of Infinity Ward did say the team hears the interest in those smaller maps. There's Resurgence-based maps, so while it might not necessarily be in the cards right now, that doesn't mean that in the future we won't see that happen as well. I mean, it took 9 months for Rebirth Island and Resurgence to be added to Warzone to begin with, having only Verdansk from March of 2020 to December of 2020. So it's possible, but we'll have to wait and see. And the final thing that I want to touch on real briefly here before we wrap everything up deals with what happens next for those that want to stay on Warzone 1, even if it is something just like Caldera. What happens? Is it something you could still grind out your rank and all? Well, as it stands, that part is officially unknown. I cannot for the life of me find where I saw this, but I recently remember seeing the rumor that Warzone 1 will continue on this sort of era between Modern Warfare 2019, Black Ops Cold War, and Vanguard as that sort of tethered 3-year ranking system, where with Season 1 we'll get one final wipe, but then beyond that, it's just your prestigious and essentially just leveling up to wherever you want to go. Whether or not that holds true, again, I cannot for the life of me remember where I saw this. I do apologize, but that would be something that does make sense. So perhaps that rounds out the future for those that want to stick on the Warzone 1 experience, but for right now, we'll have to wait and see. While there will still be support and the ability to play Warzone 1, obviously it will not be the focal point here. Everything seems to be moving over to Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, this new era of Call of Duty, and where we go from here. So you can still take part in it, but you might not be getting the same support and level of replayability that we have currently ahead of those other two things launching. But that said, that's what we're gonna call it. I'd love to get your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Does it make sense from a logical perspective that we're moving on to Warzone 2? Is it something that bums you out? You'd like to see Resurgence maps stay? Is it something you're excited to move on from Warzone 1? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it out on insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2, DMZ, and anything COD related. We got a busy next couple of weeks to months here, so stick it here on the channel if you guys would like to stay on top of everything. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.